All right, man, peace. So it's very obvious to me now, in the aftermath of Game 3 between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors, that the Toronto Raptors are going to have to seriously think about decimating their entire team after this series is over. Because the psychological damage that has been imposed upon them by Mr. LeBron James is something that I don't think that they will ever be able to recover from, even if he leaves the Eastern Conference and goes to a team out west. I just think that they have way too much emotional baggage now because of the turmoil that has been waged upon them by Mr. LeBron James, who just tortures them every series. And once again, I saw it as a kid growing up in the late 80s, early 90s with what Michael Jordan did to the Cleveland Cavaliers. What LeBron James has done to the Toronto Raptors, they will never, ever be able to controvert as long as they have that same coach and those same players, at least the upper crust players on their team, meaning Mr. DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. One or both of them will have to be traded. In some way, shape, or form, they're going to have to reconfigure their team to give themselves a viable opportunity, a viable chance to be competitive next year, meaning have a realistic chance to win a championship in their own minds. Because when you have a guy like LeBron James who's just dominating them to the degree that he is, that just puts a heavy mental / psychological toll on not just that team, but that entire franchise, that city, everything. They're not going to be able to get over this. But anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Today, we'll start in Cleveland. Cavs up 2-0 on the Raptors, just like last year, but this year Game 3 was on their floor with their guy coming off a 43-point night, and LeBron James picked up pretty much right where he left off up north.
Oh yeah, LeBron James had a steam reverse jam, but right there, Kyle Lowry, you gotta take that foul. You can't allow that to happen. It's the playoffs, baby.
Oh.
Check it. They didn't call it.
James going with the Euro step and one, and then James driving and dunking. Ooh, Cleveland up by 17. It would be their biggest lead of the game.
And you can even see with LeBron that his mental view of the Toronto Raptors is different even than the mental view that he had for the Indiana Pacers. Even though he was dominant against them as well, you can tell that he has no fear of the Toronto Raptors in regards to their ability to possibly beat his team. There's a difference between you having an outlook where an opposing team's best player may be a threat to you, which I'm sure that LeBron does not have in regards to any player in the NBA, other than maybe Kevin Durant, where he feels like this person can possibly nullify him when they're both at their best. But when it comes to teams, he has no fear whatsoever of the Toronto Raptors. It doesn't matter what their record is. It doesn't matter how well they're playing. It doesn't matter how hot they are. He knows that he can beat them, because when he starts to get hot, he knows that they're going to crumble. And as I stated coming into these playoffs, there's no disrespect to Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, but when your two best players both have mental problems, you're not going anywhere.
Another good game for Kevin Love. Another good sign for the Cavaliers.
As well, we all need a little bit of love in our life. Kevin Love was doing work down low. They continuously try to guard him with smaller players. Coach hasn't worked out well for the Toronto Raptors in this series.
I'm not even sure what sport that was the two of them were playing, but it works out as an and one for Love, who had 21 and 16.
Get some more. Look, Kevin Love taking his time, being patient. When you put smaller players on Kevin Love, you're doing him a favor. You're helping him out. He will look.
What Kevin Love's success in this series is showing you is that, number one, this LeBron James narrative that he has no help is a complete fallacy. It's just that Ty Lue has not done a good enough job of making sure that the game plan implements what Kevin Love brings to the table. But we all know why they do that. They have to create this heroic image for LeBron James, which he doesn't need. He's great enough already. He doesn't need anyone to try to overly glorify his legacy. And this is why LeBron James is often met with so much opposition from people who are not willing to give him his just due. Because there are so many in the liberal sports media who are trying to create this Paul Bunyan narrative for him, and it's just unnecessary. He has talent on his team, but playing in the LeBron James system, he has to be under a coach who has enough of a backbone to say, LeBron, you have to involve some of your teammates a little bit more. Because contrary to the narrative, no, LeBron does not involve his teammates as much as they try to make it out to be. He likes to have the ball in his hands, and he likes to hold the basketball. Is he a great passer? Yes. Is he a willing passer? It depends. It depends on whether or not he's going to get credit for the assist. Bottom line is this: Kevin Love has a track record of averaging over 25 points per game in the NBA in numerous seasons. Give him the basketball and let him do what he can do.
He will abuse those players every time.
DeMar DeRozan, 3 of 12, 8 points, and on the bench all of the fourth quarter. Raptors make a run anyway. Kyle Lowry uses the screen, knocks down the 3. Serge Ibaka, much better in game 3 with a block on one end, and it's Lowry with the layup on the other.
You know, I remember right before Kyle Lowry makes his layup, let me say this. I remember in the aftermath of the 2012 finals, there was a big contention within the Oklahoma City Thunder franchise of whether or not they were going to keep James Harden or Serge Ibaka. It's very obvious that they made the wrong decision.
Lowry really carried the team along with Ibaka's defense and Lowry's offense. They had a chance. They thought that they were going to get that game to overtime and maybe have a chance to win. Lowry hit big shots. He made assists.
And I give Kyle Lowry credit. He didn't crumble. He didn't fold up. He didn't run to the locker room and claim that he had to decompress. He stuck with it. I think that he's reached a point which is a level where every man has to reach at a certain point in his life where he's just out doing what he needs to do and he does not care about the results. And that's really all life is about. Be goal-oriented, pursue your goal, give it 100%, and don't worry about the results. The results are going to be what they're going to be.
Assists, he penetrated, he hit off.
Ibaka with 3 of his 11. They've got it within 4. James.
That's something that LeBron has added to his game that he has not had before in his arsenal until about 2 or 3 years ago. That soft, feathery jump shot that he has is no joke. He's definitely a much better offensive player than he's ever been at any time in his career. Even in the 2013 season, he's the best that he's ever been offensively right now.
Shades of game 2 in Toronto with that fadeaway. Cleveland back on top by 5. Raptors not going away. Lowry. Smart play, backs out, reverses course. In for 2. It's a 2-point game. He had 27. Jeff Green is fouled, makes the first, misses the second. Raptors collect the rebound. Watch OG Anunoby unguarded at the 3-point line. A little pause and he knocks down the 3. Big shot from the rookie who was 4 of 7 out there.
That was a great shot by Anunoby. I'm just watching LeBron James run down the court looking for the weakest player to guard. He said, I got Valanciunas. Toronto down by 3. LeBron looking to guard Valanciunas. I'm just messing with LeBron and his stupid fans right now. I know that LeBron likes to guard the opposing team's hottest player in the clutch. I'm just messing with y'all.
He finished with 18. More importantly, we are tied at 103. Good news for the...
Now look at the Toronto Raptors sideline. They don't even look like they think that they could win. They just look like a college team scrimmaging against an NBA team and saying, wow, we're keeping it close.
News for the...
And DeMar DeRozan, he's finished. He's done.
Raptors. Now the bat. We're flashing back. Usually not a great sign. Game 5 against Indiana way back in the first round when LeBron knocked down the 3 for the win at the buzzer in a game the Cavs won 98-95. Of course, went on to survive a Game 7 to set up this 3rd straight matchup with Toronto. More pain coming for the Raptors.
Gets it into LeBron. 6 seconds to go. Here comes LeBron. We're tied at 103. LeBron into the forecourt. In on Anunoby. Gets shoved toward the side. Banks it up. Oh, he did it again. LeBron James tips it high off the...
That was by far the most impressive game winner that LeBron has ever hit in the playoffs. By far. That's more impressive than the 3-point shot against Orlando. That was more impressive than the 3-point shot against Indiana. Because that took a high level of guts and also skill to be running left and then shoot a running jump shot off the bank like that. Extremely impressive. Great job by LeBron James.
Out the window and drops it through. The LeBron James legend continues as LeBron James has won Game 3 for the Cavaliers. Oh!
Who the hell was that? Was that Travis Kelce? Let me rewind that back.
Oh! LeBron James tips it high off the window and drops it through. The LeBron James.
Is that Travis Kelce right there with the Cavs hat on? One of you guys, I didn't see the entire game. One of you guys could tell me that's Travis Kelce. Fanboying out for LeBron James.
James, legend.
Oh, well, I guess I'm going to miss it then.
Legend continues as LeBron James has won Game 3 for the Cavaliers. Oh, goodness.
Another killer for the Raptors and their fans. LeBron James.
Now, if you're the Toronto Raptors, you should have contested the end of this game because you should have had 0.3 seconds left. The ball is through the net, and as you can see, it's 0.2 left on the clock still.
Tough shot going to his left. Drops it at the buzzer. 16 of his 38 points in the fourth quarter. That was his 5th career buzzer-beating game winner in the playoffs. Amazingly, his 2nd in the last 6 games.
Yes, look at me roar. The greatest bridesmaid in NBA history. I'm heading for my 6th finals loss. Holla at me.
6 games. James and the Cavs torture Toronto. It continues. 9 straight postseason wins over the...
Great performance by LeBron James. Also great performance by Kevin Love. Look at Kevin, 21 points, 16 rebounds. Once again, just showing you what he can do when he's actually rendered a part of the offense.
And
LeBron got a bunch of help all around. 4 teammates in double figures aside from him.
Over the Raptors. 13 now in their last 14 meetings. Here's the King on conjuring up his latest game winner.
To be honest, I mean, sometimes I really don't know, but I trust every shot that I'm going to take because I work on every shot. So if sometimes, it could be a pull-up 3, as you saw in the Indiana series. It could be a drive, for a layup that I've had in the past. It could be a floater, like it was tonight, off the glass. I practice pretty much, every shot that I take in a game. And no matter if it's the first quarter or, a game winner, I feel pretty comfortable with it.
I mean, usually you're out there. How hard was it for you to sit at times and just kind of cheer and not be on the floor?
Extremely hard.
Yeah, but bro, you got to play better, man. At the end of the day, this is game 3 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. And you're out there, you're not playing well, you're not playing good defense, you're missing your assignments. You have to be mentally sharp. You have to understand the game plan. You could blame the coach if you want to. At the end of the day, game 3, you're down 0-2 in a must-win situation. He's going to leave the lineup out there that has brought success. And you're not known for being a clutch player. No disrespect.
Extremely hard. Definitely want to be over there, watch, especially competitive. Just want to be out there, help my team. Way more than anything. So it definitely sucks. We watch them, but like I said, we got to give credit to the guys. We fought hard, gave ourselves a chance to win.
Let me say this, Dwayne Casey is going to have to spend a lot of time between Game 3 and Game 4 building back up DeMar DeRozan's confidence. Because as we all know, he does have a history of depression. I'm not going to say that he's going to plunge into a black abyss of self-doubt. I'm not saying that at all. But that is something that Dwayne Casey is going to have to be very cognizant of because of his decision. And once again, in my view, he made the right decision because the lineup that he had out there was playing extremely well. And they made up a huge gulf and were able to tie the game with seconds left. But DeMar DeRozan is going to be an issue that they're going to have to pay very close attention to in between games 3 and 4 to try to build him back up. Because as we all know, they're down to their last game. They need to find a way to win in Cleveland, try to take the series back to Toronto. Not that that really means anything because the Cavs have been just as successful in Toronto as they've been in Cleveland against the Raptors. But I mean, hey, winning game 4 is better than getting swept, one would think. Unless some of their players are ready to go on vacation. Who the hell knows? I guess we'll find out on Monday night.
Tough to take all around for Toronto. And how about the nice little postseason that LeBron James is putting together? That's the 2nd game-winning buzzer beater already. He's scored 40 or more 4 times, a couple of triple-doubles thrown.
He's been better in this postseason than he was even in last year's postseason, which is saying a lot.
Doubles thrown in, tied his career playoff high with 14 assists. Oh, by the way, he scored more through 10 games than anybody since Michael Jordan back in 1992.
I remember that playoff run by Jordan in 92. That was him at his absolute peak, physically and mentally. In the first round, he had a dominant series against the Miami Heat. The second round, it was that classic series against the New York Knicks. So, one thing people have to understand when they grade LeBron James' stats against Michael Jordan's stats, they don't take into account the difference in eras. And this is what I constantly try to stress when I make these comparative evaluations. You have to take into account what the overall offensive strategies of the eras were, because the scoring was a little bit less in the early 90s than what you have today overall. So you have to take that into account in regards to the differentiation in individuals' outputs offensively. Right now, the NBA is in a very offensive era. So it's very common for more of your prominent players to have outstanding offensive outputs. Now, back in the early 90s, the NBA was just starting to head into its most devastating defensive era in its history. And Jordan was still averaging 30, 32, 33, 34 points a game in the playoffs. That's why numbers can't tell you everything. You have to have lived through it. You have to have watched it and seen it. In that second round series against the New York Knicks, there weren't that many games where both teams even scored over 100 points. But Jordan was still averaging over 30 a game in that series. That's what I mean when I say when you make these comparative analyses of these players, you have to take that into account.
92.
That boy good.
Yes, as for this.
No, that boy LeBron James is great. He's having an all-time great playoff run. If by some miracle he's able to win the championship this season, he'll jump up on my list from number 6, arguably to number 4. I would really have to think about he and Magic Johnson in regards to who I would have number 4 on my list if he were to win the championship this season, because he would not have had the best team. And pretty much every season that the Lakers won the championship, Magic Johnson had the best overall team in the NBA. Other than maybe 88, I think the Pistons may have been a little bit better than them, but they were fortunate because Isaiah Thomas got hurt. But the Lakers did have the better record that season than the Detroit Pistons. This team right here that he's playing with, if they were to beat the Golden State Warriors or the Houston Rockets in the finals, I would have to consider putting him above Magic Johnson. He would definitely pass Bird.
This game winner, guys, Dwayne Casey said after the game that the plan was to trap LeBron on the catch, but that trap never materialized.
Well, Tyler.
That's the difference between championship level teams and teams that go out in the second round. Teams that go out in the second round do not execute what the coach tells them. They don't listen to the coach. And there are a myriad of reasons for that. Either he does not have personnel that are sharp mentally, or it's time for them to get Dwayne Casey out of there.
Ty Lue's decision to take it full court allowed them to be able to take the ball out of LeBron's hand. Here, they have a chance to deny him the ball, but Siakam doesn't do that, and the ball comes in bounds. He has a chance to go trap him right there. He doesn't do it. He runs away, and now LeBron's coming full speed, and we know what happened. The rest is just history. LeBron time.
Yeah, when LeBron's going downhill like this, it's very hard to stop. He has every shot in the book.
And people have to understand that you have to put LeBron James in a situation where he feels like he has to pass the ball, because he will. He's not Kobe Bryant. Kobe's going to take that shot even if there's 3 guys on him. But if LeBron James sees that he's being pressured by 2 players, he is going to pass the ball. And let me tell you something. I will take a Kevin Love 3-point shot. I'll take a J.R. Smith 3-point shot. I'll take a Jordan Clarkson 3-point shot over a LeBron James shot at this point right now, with the way that he's flowing and the way that he believes in his jumper. He's extremely dangerous. And as I've stated already, LeBron James's clutchness has always been underrated. It's always been underrated. Now, is he as clutch as Michael Jordan? No. But it's always been underrated. Kobe Bryant's clutchness has always been overrated. Kobe gets extolled for being this great crunch time sniper, and his percentages are very low. LeBron James' percentages are very high. As a matter of fact, they're the highest in playoff history right now. Does that make him a better crunch time performer than Michael Jordan? No, because there's a lot that goes into crunch time performance. A real crunch time performer does not even allow himself to get put into these situations where he has to make these game-winning shots all the time. This is not supposed to be something that a player is looking forward to. You want to take care of business throughout the game. To be quite frank with you, there's no way that Cleveland should have given up the big lead that they gave up to the Toronto Raptors in Cleveland. But once again, LeBron James has been incredible in these playoffs. He's been great in the clutch, and his clutchness has always been underrated. Why is that? Because he went through a spell in the late 2000s when he started to let the trash talk of certain media pundits like Skip Bayless get into his head. And then, of course, the 2011 finals, which he will never get over. That's the reason why he'll never be number 1, no matter what many of his more ardent fans want to occur. You can never be number 1 after a finals performance like what he had in 2011. Sorry. That case is closed.
In the book, you see him using the glass, the nice touch. The trap never happened. I'm not sure if that was a miscommunication between the coaching staff and the players or not. LeBron was able to take advantage of it. The rest is history. LeBron, another game winner, and then, Coach, he hit your favorite dance. He did that block boy JB at the end.
Look at J.R. Smith. J.R. looks so happy. He got his boo back. Ever since Dwayne Wade was forced to exit the team, J.R. Smith has his boo back. He got LeBron back. J.R. Smith and Shannon Sharp are fighting over who gets to be LeBron's second spouse, other than Savannah.
At the end.
Yeah, I do that dance every night in my mind.
I know. You were doing it during the last break. Shoot.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Mentally, I do it.
Not
Mentally.
physically. Sometimes that's
and you can do that. You can hit it real quick if you want to, Coach.
I just did. Didn't you see it?
Oh, okay. Was that quick?
In my mind.
Okay.
DeMar DeRozan, you saw the emotions on his face. Sat out the entire fourth quarter. He was.
Let me say this very quickly. People always talk about Mark Jackson and why Mark Jackson has not gotten another coaching opportunity. Lionel Hollins. The Memphis Grizzlies franchise has never been the same since Lionel Hollins was fired. After whatever season it was, 2012 or 2013, whichever season it was. And Lionel Hollins certainly deserves more opportunities in the NBA. I can't remember if he's gotten another opportunity to coach a team since then. But he was a coach. He was one of the first analytics casualties in the NBA where a coach was fired because he would not strictly abide by the analytics that the front office wanted him to abide by, despite the fact that he was extremely successful. And he certainly deserves another chance as much as anybody else in the NBA to win, because what he was showing with the Memphis Grizzlies was that you didn't need to have a bunch of shooters to have a chance to win, because the Grizzlies, with that grit and grind style, they were beating a lot of teams in the NBA that no one thought that they should have been beat. I remember the year that they beat the San Antonio Spurs in the playoffs, whichever year that was. I want to say 2010 or 2011, one of those seasons.
He was a minus 23 on the night. They got a game at least to play here in this series. What's the conversation that should happen between Dwayne Casey and his star?
DeMar DeRozan gets one night to sulk. He gets tonight to sulk and lay his head on his pillow and cry a little bit, and then he has to bounce back and be the leader of his team that he's been all year long.
Now, the new argument amongst many of LeBron James' more ardent super fans is that if Michael Jordan was playing in today's NBA, he'd be a slightly better version of DeMar DeRozan. Once again, this is what happens when you have people who are not especially mentally swift try to compare different eras. What a great player would do if he was playing in a different era was he would adapt to the style of play. So if Michael Jordan was playing today, he'd be a much better three-point shooter, because that would be something that would have been stressed throughout his high school and college playing career. So no, he would not be as mid-range oriented as he was back in the 90s, when the 90s stressed the mid-range jump shot. But once again, this is what happens when you have idiots trying to compare eras.
Long. One game does not define your total season. I know he feels bad right now, but he has to get his head back in the right place because they have another game to play, and this team does not want to get swept. That is the message I would tell him if I'm Dwayne Casey, is that, listen, you're the leader of this team. I still depend on you. We went away from you last game just because you were having a poor game. We thought it was best for the team, but we still believe.
Raptors will try to avoid a second straight sweep to the Cavaliers on Monday night in Cleveland.
Well, they're not going to be able to avoid that, I don't think. I think that they're going to go home in 4. I predicted that after game 1, and I think that is going to come to fruition. But anyway, peace.